Joel, if you're as good at video as you say you are, then you should be able to make me disappear with just a click of a button.
So to create the exact effect that you just saw, I'm going to take you through these steps to get there. To start off, I'm going to briefly talk you through how to film this process. Then we're going to be on the edit page and we're going to align the clips. After that, we're going to head into Fusion. I'm going to show you how to displace the image with a push or pull effect. We're going to add some glow. We're going to add a shockwave that looks incredible. For the second last step, DaVinci Resolve actually has this tool built in, but we're going to make a way better version of it. And then lastly, to tie it all together, we're going to throw on some camera shake that's just going to completely sell the effect. Also, I've again partnered with Jake Whip to turn this into a drag and drop preset. It works incredibly well. It looks as good as what we're going to be building in the tutorial, but you literally can just drag it from the effects bar onto your clip and you have the cinematic disappear effect. And thank you again to Audiio for sponsoring this video. Let's get into it. So I'm gonna just really quickly touch on the filming because it is super simple. Pretty much you need a shot with the subject and a shot without the subject. So in my case, I am using a gimbal and I'm walking backwards and the subject is also walking with me. So I start with the subject walking with me and we're walking backwards. Then I do the exact same take but without the subject, and then I can line that up later in post. But you could also lock it off on a tripod for a more static shot and just record yourself even talking to the camera and then get out of the frame and then cut that second segment of that clip, and then you have a shot with the subject and a clean plate. And you can use this with anything. So if you want to make a car disappear or anything like this, that's going to work fine as well. But this effect is pretty popular in real estate right now, so that's why I'm showing you in this case with real estate. Now, if you're not able to go and film this footage, I do have practice footage available for you. You can find it in the link down below in the description. It's part of my Films Club, which is just a club that gets you access to practice footage as well as some extra perks. Go check it out if you want to practice along with the video. Okay, with our first clip dragged onto the timeline, let's just cut it up a little bit so that we don't have all of this excess footage. So I'm going to delete the start as well as I'm going to delete the end right after he starts talking, just like so. Now I'm going to take my clean plate shot, which again was shot in the exact same way as the first shot, and I'm going to just drag the video clip because I don't need the audio over top of the first clip. All right, now we got to make sure that we align these clips as close to perfect as possible. So let's go to the last frame of the bottom clip. So that's the clip with the subject. So let's make sure we're on the last frame there. And then with the top clip, let's turn the opacity down to around 50. This way we can see the house of the original clip as well as the clean plate, and we can make sure that we align that up close. I'm just going to drag the start of this clip because I know I didn't start right at the start. And then what I'm doing is I'm just scrubbing it forward until it matches really closely, something just like so. And now I'm going to use the comma and period keys on my keyboard to just move it forward one frame at a time. And that's just going to give me a little bit more control over where it's going. But this clip is actually running into the start of the timeline, so let's just shorten it up for now. Let's go back in. Let's move it forward. Looks like that's too far. I'm just using period and comma to line this up perfectly. So right about there, you can see that we've got a pretty close lineup all around the clip. So that's great. We're going to hit Control B and then cut out the start of that clip and now drag this just in front like so. Let's turn the opacity back up to 100%. Let's zoom to fit our timeline. And now if we play this clip back, you can see that it goes from our subject to the clean plate, and it's already quite seamless because it is lined up so closely, but obviously it doesn't look great. We're going to make this look a whole lot better. So instead of actually doing the effect on the clips itself, we're going to be using an adjustment clip. So let's go into the effects panel up here. Let's go into effects and drag an adjustment clip over top of our effect. Now, because I want the shockwaves to be a little bit longer than that initial sort of push and pull sequence, so I'm going to make the adjustment clip longer on the second portion of the clip. So right here, right? I'm not going to align it perfectly in the center. I'm going to push it over something just like so. It doesn't have to be anything perfect, but this is going to be a pretty good placement. Now with the adjustment clip selected, let's go into the Fusion page. Starting off, we're going to add a little bit of a push and pull to the clip. So that's sort of the clip sucking in or pushing out. That's what's sort of creating that sort of suction effect that makes the subject in the video disappear. So to do that, let's add a displace node just like so. We're then also going to drag in a fast noise from the menu bar right here. You could also hit shift space to drag that in. Then let's grab an ellipse from right here, drag that onto the fast noise, and then put that fast noise over the displace just like so. I'm going to click this button here to open two viewers so I can see the fast noise on the left side. I'm going to press 1 to do that. And I'm just going to change this from to color to gradient. And then this black here, instead of it being black, I'm going to turn it into sort of a light gray, something like so. Now I'm going to turn the scale up just like so that we have a little bit of detail inside of our fast noise. I'm actually going to increase the detail a bit, maybe slightly increase the contrast so that there's a bit more separation. And then I'm going to increase the seed rate. So now let's take a look at our fast noise. We just have sort of a turbulence map, and we're going to be using this as the displacement input for the push/pull. But obviously right now it's just a harsh line. So let's take this ellipse, let's decrease the size a bit, place it over our subject, something like so, maybe a little bit bigger. And then we're going to increase the soft edge. So now we have a nice feather going on. And if we take our displace now, pretty much it's taking the white values of the fast noise and giving it the maximum refraction strength when you increase this refraction. And the gray is just slightly less, and that's what gives you a bit of a turbulence effect. But we want this image to suck in, so we're going to go something like this. And now you can see that the image is sort of being pulled in. And we want to go forward to the frame where he disappears. So that is right here. We want to add a keyframe to there. We want to go to the start of the clip, add another keyframe, but then set the value at 0. And now go to the end of the clip and set the value at 0 again. And now we're going to go into the spline editor with the display selected. We're going to go into refraction strength, hit zoom to fit, select all of the keyframes and hit S, and that's going to give you these handles here to control. And the way that we're going to adjust this curve is we sort of want this effect to slowly ease in and then snap right when he disappears to give it a bit of a poof effect, if that makes sense. So to do that, we're just going to grab this first handle, we're going to ease it in a little bit more, and then importantly, we're going to grab this next keyframe, which is the max refraction right here, and we're going to hold control to have independent control of this handle, and we're going to push it in something just like so. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one, again holding control, dragging it in like so, and then with the last keyframe, we're just going to ease that in a little bit more. And now if we play this back, boom, he sort of disappears. It's a little pop when he disappears. And it already looks quite good. Obviously, we're gonna do a lot more work to make this look a whole lot better. Now, I just wanna take a second to talk about today's video sponsor, and that's Audiio, because they just came out with a really sweet update. Now, if you don't know what Audiio is a music licensing platform that gives you access to high quality music as well as some incredible sound effects. Now, Audiio has one of the best libraries of really good music because they only work with artists that create good music. They get pre-audited and their stuff actually sounds incredible. They have incredible AI tools like Hans AI where you can just type out your video idea and it'll spit out some awesome songs for you to use that I use literally on a daily basis for all of my client work. They also have Link Match AI, which lets you take a Spotify link or a YouTube music link or something similar to that, plug it into their website, and then their AI will find you a song that sounds similar or has a similar vibe so that you can use that in your next project. Now, the update that I was talking about earlier is Stems 2.0, and Audiio actually already had stems as part of their feature set, but it just got even better. And if you don't know what a stem is, it's pretty much an individual piece of a song. So think of like the vocals or the piano or the bass or the drums or something similar to that. Every single song that they have on their platform, you get individual access to each of those tracks so that you can mix and remaster the music yourself for your personal needs. So I actually use this all the time. I use it when I'm doing a voiceover over a song, but I don't want the vocal in the music to be competing with my voice. I can just download the full track as well as just the instrumental and then take out the voice and just have it layered really nicely. And yes, this works a whole lot better than DaVinci's AI music remixer. They're partnered with AudioShake, which is one of the best in the platform to separate stems. And honestly, it's a game changer. I use it all the time. It gives you precise control and is versatile for every single project. Now, Audiio has given me 2 incredible discount codes for you to use. One gives you a huge discount on the Pro plan for just $59 a year. That's like $60 a year for an entire library of music. Plus, you get access to all of the incredible AI features that they have to offer. And did I forget to mention that they also have sound effects? That's also something you get with the Pro plan. But if you want to just do a one-time payment, you get a huge discount and you just pay $199 and you get access to their music lifetime. You never have to pay again. It might be the plan for you if you just want a simple one-time payment. So go check out Audiio right now. At least go and take a listen to their music, see if you like what they have to offer, and make sure you use the discount codes down below in the description. Back to the video. Next, I want there to just be a little bit of glow to this image. So before the displace, I'm going to add a glow node, just the very first one that shows up there. And we can use the same ellipse from the fast noise to affect this glow. And you could actually use the fast noise input of the glow just like so. But instead of using the alpha channel on the glow node, go into the settings tab and change this to luminance. And now again, this glow node also has a bit of turbulence, which is just going to look a little bit better. So now on the frame that he disappears, which for me is frame 38, we're going to put a keyframe on blend. At 0.2, we're just going to leave the rest of the settings as is. Then we're going to go to the start of the clip, turn the blend down to 0, go to last clip again, turn the blend down to 0. And in the spline editor, we're going to make the exact same adjustments as we did to the displacement. So we're going to drag these down just like so. And you can customize this to your liking, but this is something that I think looks good. So it's going to pop in and out, and that disturbance to the glow node is sort of going to make it look like almost a little bit of smoke even, but it definitely is giving you a really good effect as is already. Now next, what really takes this effect to the next level is adding some shockwaves. And this is probably the trickiest part to do, but I'm going to take you through it step by step, and I'm sure that you can do it. So to start, we're going to take our fast noise, hit Control-C, Control-V, copy that. We're also going to add another displace to our pipeline, just like so. Plug our fast noise into the displace, and now we're going to add a polygon into empty space. Now, for the shockwaves, to make this reusable for vertical or horizontal footage, we're going to keep them pretty simple. I'm just going to place a point there and a point there, and that's it. Just kidding. There's a little bit more work. Let's go back to one viewer. Let's select this icon right here. That's just going to make sure that you're not adding more points and you're just affecting the points that are already existing. So let's hold Control and adjust this sort of just like so, something like that, so that we have a nice arc. And if we hit 2, we can see the actual map that we're going to be affecting. Right now it's a solid. Let's turn that off and let's increase the border width just like so. And let's also add a soft edge to that. And then now let's plug that polygon into the fast noise. Let's press our media out so we can see it again. And now if we take this refraction, you'll be able to see where we are affecting this image. So we're sort of getting the shockwave already. And we want quite a bit of a shockwave in this case. So I'm going to turn the refraction strength up pretty high, something like so. And on the frame that he disappears, which again for me is frame 38, I'm going to decrease the size of my shockwave just so that it reaches the border of the image, just like so. And I'm just realizing this curve might be a bit steep, so let's just turn that down just a little bit, just like so. That's perfect. And again, we're on frame 38 right here. We need to set a keyframe on size and then go over to the last frame and increase the size quite a bit so that it pretty much goes all the way off of frame just like so. So I'm actually going to increase it to 5. So now, as you can see, we have this shockwave that's sort of leaving the frame going up as it's leaving. Now, over time, this shockwave should dissipate. So what we're going to do is we're going to keyframe the level of the polygon as well on the frame that he disappears. Go to the last frame and turn it down to 0. And now to just add some kinetic movement to this, we're going to go into the spline editor with our polygon selected. Let's first just work on the size right here. Let's hit both keyframes and hit S again. And the shockwave should obviously start a little bit faster and then slow down as it's going through time. So this is the curve. It starts faster, slows down over time. And then level, we're actually going to be doing a little bit differently. So if we hit S on these, now it's strong for a while and then slowly dissipates, because if we did this, now it's going to be at this point, it's already going to be sort of at half opacity, which is just going to not look good on the effect. So we can just leave it as a regular S curve, just like so. Now, before the shockwave shows up, if we go to the start of this clip, we can see that the shockwave is still in effect. Obviously, it's given our realtor a bit of a Megamind looking head right here. So let's go on this polygon, and right before it shows up, so right before he disappears, let's go back one frame and now turn the level down to 0 again. So now if we play this back, you can see that the realtor disappears and there's a shockwave going off of the screen. But obviously with the disappear effect, the more shockwaves we do, the better it's going to look. So with this polygon selected, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hit Control-C, hit Control-V. That's just going to duplicate it into the timeline. With this polygon here, we're going to change the merge mode from merge to add. And now we're going to take this angle, so it's technically the X rotation, and we're going to turn it all the way upside down. So now we pretty much have the exact same effect as the first one, but it's upside down. And it looks quite good, but something that you want in an effect in this case is you want a bit more chaos. And right now these shockwaves are timed perfectly in sync. So what I'm going to do is to just ruin the sync of this a little bit, the second shockwave, maybe we'll make it go a little bit faster. And to do that, I'm just going to increase the size to 7 on the last frame, meaning it has to travel more distance than prior. So let's go into the spline editor of this polygon, and we're just going to be affecting the size here, not the level. And let's maybe increase the easing a little bit more as well. So now these shock waves are not moving at the exact same speed and momentum. So we have the 2 main shock waves done here, and it looks pretty good, but we need to add some secondary shock waves because when someone disappears, the time-space continuum is warped, and there just needs to be some extra shock waves, some extra chaos to make this actually look good. So with this first shockwave here, this first polygon, let's hit Control-C, Control-V. And what we're going to do is we're just going to remove some of these keyframes and just have a blank slate to work with. So I do want to keep the size at the same spot. We can also remove that keyframe. So we got no keyframes right now. Pretty much this is just constant displacement in the middle of the screen right now. Let's go to the frame before the realtor disappears. So that is there. Let's add a keyframe on level and turn it down to 0. And this shockwave, we don't want it to instantly turn on. We sort of want it to gradually turn on. So instead of going to the next frame and setting the level up to 1, we're going to go forward to like frame 46 or 47, like 8 to 9 frames later, turn the level up to 1. Then let's go forward to closer to the end of the effect, but not all the way to the end. Let's go to maybe frame 104 and let's turn the level down to 0 again. And now where we set the first keyframe for level, let's go back and set a keyframe for size. Let's turn the size down actually smaller than the width of the screen. And let's go to this last keyframe of level. And now let's increase the size to something like so. It doesn't have to go all the way off of the frame because it's dissipating over time anyways. Let's also change the arc of the shockwave a little bit so that it doesn't look the exact same as all of the other ones. And let's open the spline editor so that we can adjust these splines a little bit. So with that polygon selected, we're going to open level, and this is sort of the effect that we're going for. Let's hit S, and we do want this start to just have a natural ease. So it can sort of start off a little bit faster, something like so. So the level of that displacement is increasing over time, over the course of these couple frames here. And then it's slowly dissipating over time as well. We can maybe increase the easing a little bit more. And then size, same thing. It should still be starting faster than it's ending. So let's hit S and let's turn this value up just like so. And now if we play this back, we have our 2 main shockwaves leaving the scene, which looks pretty good. But we also have the second little one that you can see. It's sort of faint, but that's the purpose of it, to just sort of hide in the background, to add a little bit more displacement to the image to make it look a little bit more realistic. Now we're actually going to duplicate this again and do one bottom facing. So Control-C, Control-V. We're going to again change the angle, something like so maybe. With this polygon, we can leave most of the sizing the same, but let's just offset it a little bit. So let's open our keyframe panel on this, just so I can show you how to offset, hit zoom to fit. And now this is completely duplicated from the other one. Let's just move the level over and let's maybe decrease the amount of time. And now this is different than the other shockwave, and we just have multiple shockwaves going through the scene. Now, the effect is starting to look really, really good, but we need to add some aberration. Now, this is a step that I mentioned in the intro that DaVinci Resolve does have a built-in effect, but I don't think it looks that good, and I'm going to show you how to have a little bit more customization and something that looks a little bit better. So that effect that I'm talking about is prism blur. So if I add this to my pipeline right here, you can see that we're getting some aberration, but the issue is the aberration is more extreme towards the edges of the frame than it is the center. Like if we look at the garage here, there's not a whole lot of aberration going on, and that's because the position of this aberration is determined by this position right here. So if we want consistent aberration, and also if we don't want green and pink, which I don't think looks as good, we're actually going to be just using some transforms, and it's super, super simple. So let's add a transform to empty space here. Let's pipe in our feed to the transform, and I'm going after the original displace. So after this suction or this push-pull effect is happening, And then with the transform selected, that's what I'm viewing right now. Let's go into the settings and turn off alpha. Let's turn off blue and let's turn off the green channel. And now we're only affecting the red channel of the clip. And now if we move this over to the right and move this up, now you can see that we have some nice aberration going on with this video. We got some blue and red, which in my opinion looks a little bit better. You could also duplicate this. So let's hit Control C, Control V. Let's drag that underneath just like so. Just tidy that up. But with this one, let's only turn on the blue channel. And now you're getting some more green and pink. But if we offset this, you're getting some yellow in there as well. And you can go really crazy with this aberration, something like so. I mean, you can do less, you can do more, but for the sake of this tutorial, let's leave it as is. Now let's add a merge node and merge this back over top. So I'm holding shift, dragging it over top of the pipeline, just like so. And let's place that there. Now with these Shockwaves, we've already done all of the heavy lifting by animating these polygons here. So let's use this fast noise as a mask for this merge, right? Because now if we look at the media out, the only areas that we're getting any type of displacement is inside of the Shockwaves. All right, so we're getting pretty close to wrapping up this disappear effect. The only thing that's missing is camera shake. So let's go to the end of our timeline right here and let's add a camera shake node. Just to our timeline like so. The way I'm going to set this up is just really simple. You could customize this further if you wanted, but I'm going to add an expression to rotation deviation and connect it to Y deviation. And now same thing with Y deviation. I'm right clicking expression, drag this pick over to X deviation. And now the reason I do that is now I have one slider to control all three of them, which just makes it a little bit easier. We'll keep it pretty low, something like so. We're going to go to the frame he disappears, frame 38, set a keyframe on overall strength, go to the start, set a keyframe on 0, go to the end, set a keyframe at 0. Now open the spline editor, control the overall strength, and we're going to add the same sort of spike that we did earlier, but instead now it's only going to be spiking in, so camera shakes increasing, boom, and as it's disappearing, there's a whole bunch of camera shake and then slowly dissipates over time. Now I find the speed of the camera shake a little bit strong, so let's turn the speed down just like so. And we don't want these borders showing up right here, these transparent borders, so let's change the edges from canvas to mirror. And now let's view this back on the edit page. You will probably have to hit playback and then hit render cache and set it to user because it is a pretty intensive effect. But if we play this back, you can see that we have the disappear effect. It looks great. It looks awesome. And obviously there's a whole lot of customization you can do to this. So you can increase the glow, the displacement, the detail in the shockwave, the aberration. You can literally change whatever you want. But instead of having to customize this every single time and make this from scratch, again, I've partnered with Jake Whip to turn this into a preset. So let me show you exactly how that works because you still have the same customization, but you have the ease of dragging it in from the effects panel. If you've gone ahead and purchased the disappear effect from my store, what you'll get your hands on is this DRFX file right here. And to download the effect, all you're gonna have to do is just double click the file. And then inside of DaVinci Resolve, it's gonna open this prompt right here asking you to download the effect. In my case, it's already downloaded, so it'll say overwrite, but for you, you'll just install it right here. So all that you're gonna have to do is delete what you've just created. You're gonna go into the effects panel, you're gonna go into generators, and then you can just search disappear and it will show up right here. You're gonna take this, you're gonna drag it onto the timeline, and by the start, it's not actually gonna be turned on just so it's a little bit easier on your computer and easier to align. What you're gonna do is you're gonna drag your playhead over to where your cut is between the two clips, and now just align this effect perfectly. So right there, we want the offset to be 0. So now we know the disappear transition is aligned perfectly. We can uncheck the show frame count, and now it's showing the actual effect. And if we play this back, you can see that the exact effect that we just created is right here. It might even look a little bit better, but you still have independent control over each scenario. So the push and pull, for example, if you want to increase the refraction strength for that pull or decrease so you don't want it to pull in as much, maybe just a little bit, or you want to do a lot, you can do that. For these shockwaves, if this refraction is too extreme for you, you can turn down the displacement strength. You can also turn up the aberration to show more aberration or less aberration. And then you can adjust the glow in the center of the frame that might be showing up right there. And then as well, you have control over the camera shake. And then lastly, one thing that I thought would be really important to have control over is location. So right now, the disappear effect is happening right from the start, but we can bring it down right to where our person is. And even if he was standing over on the side, it's still going to push and pull from that location, add the glow there. And even the shock waves will originate from that location. As you can see, it's not like originating from the corner up here, it's originating from the pivot point. Now, one thing that you might notice that is different from the original effect that we created is that we have this mode option, this push or pull, and I'll make a video about this in the future, probably for like some car effect or something like that. But pretty much what we can do is we can actually make the realtor up here instead of disappear. So for convenience sake, I'm just going to grab both of these clips. I'm turning them into a compound clip so that I can reverse it, because now if I turn this off, you can see that he's not in frame, and then pop, he's into frame. Obviously he's walking backwards, but this is just to show you the effect. So let's go to the frame that he appears, which is right there. We're going to press D. I'm going to show the frame count again. I'm going to line it up perfectly, again, just by hitting comma and period. Now it's lined up. Let's change the mode to pull, and now it's going to push into the screen and sort of make someone appear, or a car or an object. It could literally be anything. You could use this for music videos. But if we take a look at this here, there's no one, no one, no one. Pow, someone sort of gets blown into frame. It can be a car. It can be, again, whatever object that you might want to use. So if you want to grab this from the store and save yourself a bunch of time, go check it out right now. Link is down below in the description. All right, and that wraps it up. Let me know down below in the comments what you'd like to see a future tutorial on, and be sure to check out the practice footage if you're looking to practice along. Go check out the Films Club. Thank you again to Audiio for sponsoring this video, and lastly, a reminder that Jesus loves you more than you'll ever comprehend. See ya.